Morning. How y'all doing today? All right. We'll get to a few things. Obviously, today, a big day in terms of unveiling our strategic plan I've been working on, really been talking about since I've started in this job and working on all year in 2024 with Gail. And they will be at the Agenda Conference doing a presentation to council and to the public at 3:30 today, and then they'll be scrambling from there to Bayview Community Center for a Civicon presentation of the same plan. Obviously, probably a little more robust. They'll have about an hour to present there, and that's open to the public for free as well at Bayview Community Center. I believe they start at 6 o'clock. Also, as of right now, on Pensacola2035.com, Pensacola2035.com, the strategic plan is live. So certainly would appreciate the media sharing that out, and we'll get all of that posted. Let's see, event does start at 6. And the 8 goals established, just to go over those, I know it was asked about last week. Attainable housing for all income levels, support for youth experiences, resilient waterfronts and neighborhoods, more walkable mixed-use districts, public spaces connecting communities, thriving innovation and businesses in neighborhoods that celebrate culture and honor legacy. So lots to go through in there, and some tactical, some visionary, but really excited to get that out into the public and to give us our guiding document here at the city of which way we want to move forward. So looking forward to that. Hope to see you there. All right, so parking services, obviously lots of conversation around changes as a city in demand and parking. And one of the things that we focused on, number one, is to first set ourselves up to ensure that we have the ability to continue to support infrastructure with fee changes and some of the changes, the reforms we've already done to put ourselves in a position as a city to be able to anticipate the future and that we know how busy downtown is getting. But we also, certainly, it's not just about increasing costs or paid parking. It's about trying to provide as good an experience as we can. And some of that is with those parking revenues, whether that's the parking garage we're looking at or other efforts. And some of it's just some smaller tactical things that we continue to learn. And we've got several modifications coming. Some this month I'll go through in a second, and a couple more that'll be likely more in Q1 of next year, and I'll give you some reasoning behind that. First, we do have a new Park Pensacola webpage that we had promised. Remember, closing the loop, I believe, it's not just about charging for paid parking, is that the citizens and the visitors who are paying this, which is mostly visitors to our county or to our city that are paying it, should know what they're getting for their money. And so parkpensacola.com, we have an interactive parking map that shows where all the paid and free spaces are and where the parking revenue is going. That will continue to be a living document as we invest dollars into parking, whether that's the reimagination of Palafox, whether that's a parking garage, whatever else comes from here. We'll continue to update that and show you how much we're spending and where it's going. And so it'll be on that website. And then we also have we've set up some social media around Park Pensacola as well for people to engage with, answer questions. But that parkpensacola.com is live. And so that should be a better experience and a cleaner experience for people looking for information, including information about citations, about special events when Jefferson Garage is charging more because of special event. That will all be posted there. So really a one-stop shop to make sure we have a clear understanding. Second, beginning on Black Friday, November 29th, the Commendencia lot that we're being discussed for the garage there, kind of Cedar Street, Commendencia, between the ferry landing and behind the Holiday Inn will all be completely free. So that's right now, there's some charge for the evenings on the weekends from the previous administration. That's 230 spaces that are now free 24 hours a day. So that further increases, not only is the majority of our parking free here in the city, that further has increased that ratio. So that will take effect on Black Friday, November 29th. And also Another modification is at the Jefferson Garage, when you pull into the Jefferson Garage on the right, close at the corner basically of Garden and Jefferson, there's 12 surface spaces that will be 30-minute free parking all the time, excluding special events because you've got to meter that at the front. But it'll be 30-minute parking. So you want to pick up a donut, a watch, whatever, you have a location free of charge to be where we continue to increase the availability of spaces by it not being 2 hours, which is an archaic way to do it. We now will have 12 spaces there right in the heart of our downtown that will be free 30-minute parking. We continue to look at expanding those options of 30-minute parking around the city as we collect more and more data. We learn a lot from our paid transactions. We see where people are coming from, where they're parking at what hours, so we get a lot of really good information. And as we continue to build that, we are certainly open to putting 30-minute free spaces in the future around the city in strategic locations based on the usage that we see. So those 12 spaces that'll be 30 minutes free will go into effect also Black Friday, November 29th. Lastly, for the 29th, we're piloting a free downtown trolley that will run between Comendencia lot, that is now 230 free spaces, and to Wright Street, which is a huge section. I don't have the exact number, but all of that free parking at the corner of Palafox and Wright as you go east towards Tarragona, all of that still to this day remains free. But the goal is to have a circuitous route that runs up in north and south on Palafox Street and connects two large collections of free parking. So starting Black Friday, you can park in any one of those, and you can wait for a couple of minutes, and you can get dropped off on Palafox Street anywhere you want to go. So that will be funded completely by city parking funds, and that will go, again, the first day will go into effect on Friday, November 29th. That trolley will run Thursdays from 5 to 10 p.m., Fridays 5 to midnight, and Saturdays 5 to midnight. If you recall that the number one complaint on the 5,000 people who took our survey in parking was availability of spaces. The second question we asked is, when can you not find them? Well, when they couldn't find them is when parking was free, because people were sitting in those spaces all night long, employees were sitting in those spaces all night long. So we're going to address that directly by having a trolley available to move you up and down between free parking during those paid hours. So 5 to 10 Thursday, 5 to midnight Friday, 5 to midnight Saturday. We will run that throughout the rest of the year through New Year's Eve. We'll run it again, on New Year's Eve. And that does not mean we're stopping it on January 1st, but like everything we do, the same reason we're bringing you changes today is we're going to look at that. We'll see how much it's getting used, and do we tweak hours, do we tweak days? But the goal is for this to be installed for the long term. Excuse me. How we do that and what days and all that stuff, I think it's prudent for us to look at how this holiday season goes and maybe have some modifications when we get to January and February. But I want to be clear in saying, just because we're only saying we're running it through the new year does not mean the goal is that we would stop it then. We just would want to make sure we have enough information to ensure its success moving forward. There will be a live trolley tracker on the Park Pensacola website. It'll be embedded on parkpensacola.com. So when you do park in one of those spaces and you're worried that it's broken down and they're not going to come get you, you're going to be able to track the trolley live from our parkpensacola.com website. Again, excited for that, and I believe that's a move that increases our availability of spaces. I think it makes the downtown experience more predictable and seamless for people that may not want to pay the $1 an hour or can't find a Friday, Saturday night a space right in front of where they're wanting to go. Now they can drive directly to one of these, and they'll know within a few minutes that they can be taken anywhere that they want to go. Two other things that are on the way, don't have a set date for yet, is we will have increased wayfinding for free parking. So meaning you're going to see more signage in the first quarter of next year that will be pointing you to free parking, not just the P logo and an arrow, but all of the spaces we have on Spring Street, Comendencia lot, Wright Street. I think we as a community can do a better job of saying, if that's what you want to do, if you want which is the vast majority of our spaces. If you want to find those free spaces, let's make it easier for you to find them. Because we've noticed through this process that we may get a complaint that says, well, we can't find free parking anywhere, and a lot of times it's the next block over from where they were looking. And so instead of saying, well, that's the citizens' problem, it's our problem. Let's do a better job of showing folks that you can be on Palafox Street in a matter of a 2-minute walk, 3-minute walk, where right here out in front of City Hall, you've got hundreds of spaces between Spring Street and City Hall right now, 2 blocks from Palafox Street, that are free all the time. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of showing folks where those are, especially with the Comendencia lot coming online. It's free all the time. So we will have that. No exact date. I'll continue to narrate that with you. Also, we're committed to an enhanced permitted parking program. And actually, a lot of people don't know this. There are permits available, monthly permits available through city parking right now. And it's in specific areas. Some are on street, some are in the garage. But it's not as robust as we want. And more importantly, you guys have heard me say many times that the 85% of the revenue, 80 to 85% of the revenue that's coming in paid parking is from people who do not live here. So I actually would make a case that it's even more efficient than bed taxes. Now, you don't see a lot of people complaining about bed tax when they stay on the beach. Our locals pay bed tax the same way that our locals pay a user fee. And you could make a compelling case to say, well, why would a local county resident have to pay bed tax if the argument was that it was going to be for trying to extract revenue from folks that are out of town? I'm not against the bed tax. I'm just saying this user fee downtown is the same thing. 80 to 85% of the funding that's going to come in for this garage, that's going to come in for this trolley, are coming from people who don't otherwise invest in our downtown and don't have any financial investment in downtown. So what I'm most motivated to do in permits is to offer a deep discounted parking permit to city property owners and city residents. And because they are the ones right now paying. If we go fix something out on Palafox or Jefferson today, without the parking revenues long-term that we have not had, that is coming on the backs of the folks that live here. And that's why we've made these sometimes difficult, sometimes hard to explain decisions, and where citizens may not understand it or they get upset, is because we've got to say that there's more people responsible for generating the needed infrastructure down here than the folks that live inside the city limits. So with that expectation, I think city residents should be paying a different rate for parking than folks outside of the city. So we are working on that. There's just some back-end software that we've got to enhance. That's the only delay. Not a problem. We're moving in that direction. We should have some information to you guys early next year. They can't even build that out until we've given them what those permits are going to look like. I'm sure that would be your first question. We're going to look at everything. There's a lot of best practices in different communities that I've seen. For example, they'll do permits where it's only at night. Let's say you work at night downtown. Well, it might be a permit that starts at 5 o'clock and ends at midnight, and vice versa. It might be someone that is lives outside the city limits, but they work downtown. Well, then they can have a permit that's only from 9 to 5. So we might look at something like that. We might look at something like, this is a city resident permit for very inexpensive, and it's only for these specific zones, as an example. So there is no set exact way we're going to do it. We're going to continue to research that, but we will know what those are going to be well ahead of them being implemented, because we're going to build the software to make sure that those can be supported. So the first thing we got to tell our software folks is what permits do we want, and so we'll be working on that. So we're very excited to bring all of these I think these are all things that will make the downtown experience better. They're funded by parking revenue, and that's why that's important. And so certainly excited for all of those changes. Just 2 other quick things. The work on North Palafox Street, this has been a discussion, the road diet on North Palafox, very specific, North Palafox, that work starts this month. Restriping is slated to begin November 20th. It'll take about a month to complete. You'll remember FDOT was going to resurface North Palafox. I believe this process actually began before I started here. This has been a long time coming. And we asked them to add some upgrades, and we had contributed about 1.1 million, 1.2 million to that road diet back in April of 23. And what will be added is a 12 foot wide travel lane northbound and southbound, 7-foot wide bike lanes northbound and southbound from Cervantes north to Young, buffer zones between the travel and bike lanes, 12-foot wide turn lanes at specified intersections, and a crosswalk with high emphasis markings at signalized intersections of Blunt and Palafox, Jordan and Palafox, and Maxwell and Palafox. So again, all of that work is happening from Cervantes north. And you may recall, anybody that's driven there, I actually lived on that road when I moved back here from college, and it's a big, wide roadway, 4 and 5 lanes wide, that certainly does not need that type of infrastructure in terms of activity. So those are, I think that's a welcome sight, and you think about not only the ease of walking and biking that you're going to hear a lot about in our strategic plan, but also you think about the future, the Hollis T. Williams project that's happening down there, and making that easier to get to. And we want to find those experiences to make it easier to walk and bike around. So you'll see that work starting to take place on November 20th. And then lastly, just a quick update. We are in the final stages of our finalizing a partnership with an organization, nonprofit called the Recycling Partnership, and they partner with municipalities, counties all over the country to help either start or restart recycling programs. And this is a relationship that I've made with work in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and that they're a great resource to mayors all over the United States, and lots of success stories of helping start and restart programs. So we are in the finalizing a grant with the Recycling Partnership, where they're going to come in and not only help us with some infrastructure when we come back with what I kind of say is recycling 2.0, but also with some of the education and some of the communication that will be required to restart it. So we're very, very thankful for that. More to come probably at some point this month. We'll be able to give you some of the details of what that's looking like, but it's a significant grant that will put us in a much, much better position than we were when we ended the program. So and that's what I promised, is yet again another difficult decision that isn't met without some consternation and some emails that we received. But what I promised is we would come back with something that's better than we had before. And thanks to the partnership with them and some of the decisions we're going to be making moving forward, our goal is to have curbside recycling back this spring, that they will be back out on the curb. And so we are just in the final stages of getting all those details together. I don't want to announce what the grant will pay for, because the grant hasn't been signed yet. So but we have a pretty good idea what it's going to be, and we should have that grant on our desk here in the next couple of weeks. So very, very thankful for that. That is everything I've got, and happy to take any questions you have.
Mayor, has there been any movement from EPA on the American creosote work? This has turned into a generational project.
Yeah, yes. We continue to be actively involved. Our staff is actively involved in those conversations. Now, it is a federal project and a federally funded project, so I can certainly say that the timeline is not impacted by the need of input from us or anything like that. But we continue to have a seat at the table. Our team does, and so we're very invested in that. We have our team, David and our folks have a real clear idea of what's going on, and continue to be narrated to about what's going on there. So yes, this is not a project that we control the timeline on ourselves, and we understand it's been something that's been discussed for years and years and years. But we do know there's progress being made, and we are at the table to make sure that when there are big decisions or any input needed to make sure that the project isn't slowing down, that we're there at the table.
I've got one for you. We got a report in the newsroom just recently. There may have been more layoffs of Chilean workers at ST Engineering. I don't know if that's something you might have heard about, or whether it would really affect any of the city's talks with ST about employment moving forward. Just wondering if you had any.
I have not heard that. I just haven't heard that. But but what I can tell you is we continue to have conversations with all leadership at ST with our new set expectations of understanding job count, understanding reporting mechanisms, being more involved in our community. So we've had a couple of those meetings. We have another in December. And I can tell you, just as an example, we continue or we will intend that even part of our new investment in education that we've discussed, that I expect that ST is going to play a significant role in that as well, whether that be MRO, training at our middle school, Workman or Washington, that there's a complete expectation that if we want Pensacolians to be able to have the quality of life of these jobs, then we've got to make sure that the framework is there, that someone can start in our public school system, and by the time they find themselves at 22 or 23 or 24 years old, be the breadwinner of their entire family. That is a realistic goal for us, but not if we sit on our hands. And so that's what I'm hyper focused on right now. Not the day-to-day operations of ST Engineering, but what we're focused on is with Pensacola State having that A&P school now on, and I think that's really the top of the pyramid, is that we've got to have that training right on site to make sure that Pensacolians are able to get these jobs. And then we're going to work backwards from there to the high schools, to the middle schools, and make sure that path to success for our Pensacolians is. So that's what I've been really hyper focused on, and we'll have more, certainly more details on that as that comes to fruition.
Mayor, today on the city council, I guess on Thursday, is going to vote on, it looks like, two different items that are related to the West Main Street flooding project. And it's a little bit complicated. It looks like you are moving money from two other flooding projects and then awarding, it's like a $7.8 million bid, it looks like. But I guess, can you explain that project and moving the money from these two other projects? Is it going to hurt those other projects?
I'm not aware. I'd have to have it in front of me to say. I'm not aware of a decision that's been made to halt or stop any other stormwater projects to complete one. But what I'll say is that's a significant project. And what we're talking about is, and it's a large project, and your word, complicated or complex, is accurate. We've been working at this for months and months and months, and so this is the starting process. I believe, I'm going off memory, we can get the exact number. I believe this positively impacts stormwater outcomes for 1,600 homes in our city, and if you close to more than 1,600, it's 16 and change. And if you think about that, we have 20,800 households in our entire city. You're talking about you're talking about, what is that, 6-7% of the households in the city are going to see a positive stormwater impact because of it. It's been complex in terms of trying to find the outfall and where it goes, and does it go into a Joe Patty's parking lot? Does it go down B Street? And so we're still working through some of that, and we can do that simultaneous to getting the project started, because it is such a significant project that's got a lot of work to do. But we've studied what that kind of positive impact would be, and it's a significant one. But as it pertains to, I can get you more information, but as it pertains to, there's no decision that's hit my desk that said, instead of these projects, it could be additional funds in those projects. It could be a timing issue, something I don't want to speculate and speak to, but we can certainly get you, the answer of the status of the other two projects as in the funding.
And just how long do you know how long this project would take? And like you said, it's going to impact 1,600 homes. How far will it go to solving the flooding issue?
Yeah, well, certainly it's going to help. At what level are you going to see it? I think a lot of it depends on what we end up figuring out with the outfall. And so a lot of this work's going to happen on B Street, is where a lot of the infrastructure is going to go in. And of course, it's going to be going, to the south. And, so the scenario presented right now is ultimately, is a sheet flow solution, at the end. But we're in conversations with property owners down there that we think we can come to a better solution. We got to ease anxieties of some to get to where I believe the best solution of all is, which is not just sheet flowing water from one area towards the bay, but actually getting it into the bay. And so we continue to work on that and work on with our private owners over there to make sure that that's something that we could do. But no matter what, even if that doesn't come to fruition, we wouldn't be doing this project if it wasn't even at its lowest level, that it wouldn't provide a positive impact. I live down there. I know what happens when it rains for 2 hours hard enough, for 3 hours, that how much water, water's on the ground, standing water in the curbs, and even potentially when you get to E and F Street, flooding. I mean, just where we've got to shut down the road. I think our public works team could probably tell you every intersection that has to close, after hard rain for a few hours. So it's been long needed in that area, and it works. It's a big project that works well west and well north of B and Main, in terms of its impact. So absolutely, it'll have a positive impact for everybody who lives there, and we continue. It's still a living thing. We're going to try to even further enhance its potential impact if we can figure out some things at the outfall.
And then this morning, the city sent out a reminder about a public input meeting on the West Main Street stormwater multimodal design. Is that the same project, or is that a different project?
West Main Street stormwater multimodal, the Sun Trail. There has been conversations about multimodal activity in that part, and just from if you recall the Sun Trail funding that we worked with FDOT and Senator Broxton on, that we're hoping to receive, is broken into two parts. One is from 3 Mile Bridge, Chappie James Bridge, to the port ultimately, and that's one that FDOT is under design with and has been already getting community feedback on. And we actually continue to move forward with a conversation about a phase 2, which would be from the port ultimately all the way to Bayou Chico. Again, I'll use personal experience. I jog every now and then. I jog down through the train tracks. I get up to E Street, and then I'm running between old train tracks from E all the way till you get to basically Bruce Beach. There's a very, very small sidewalk on the north side, and that's not as functional as you'd like it to be. So we've had conversations as a city, even before Sun Trail, about how do we figure out that very tight area and make it more walkable. So we continue to have those conversations with FDOT, and that potentially, and again, that it's their call, but we're starting to inch forward with potential ideas for design from the port all the way to Bayou Chico. So although the Bayfront Parkway side is ahead in terms of design and all that, and that's a good thing, we're having those conversations about what we want that to look like, down West Main, and the Sun Trail money called for funding unfunded portions of the Sun Trail throughout the state of Florida, and we had a 2.2 mile unfunded portion, which is from Chappie James to Bayou Chico. So that is the mission of those dollars, and certainly we're going to look at every way that we can to improve that experience of folks being able to get in and out of town.
Mayor, on stormwater, does the city have any regulatory limits from the federal government or the state as the amount of stormwater you could deposit into Pensacola Bay? There was 30 or 40 years ago a federal court order having to do with that, but when you figure out these stormwater projects, I'm just curious: is there a limit on the volume of water you can send to the bay?
Well, I wouldn't dare speak to the technical. I know what I know, and I know what I don't, and I'm not going to speak to the federal regulations on the technical parts of stormwater going to the bay. Although I will say this, it's important to understand that what's changed over many years of time is treating that stormwater before, and so I want to be clear for folks listening out there. That doesn't mean we're taking stormwater right off the curb, not treating it whatsoever, and then putting it into the bay. There's been plenty of regulation that I wouldn't even dare attempt to speak to. David could, or Brad Highnote, our city engineer, certainly could. of the cleanliness and the quality of that water going into the bay compared to many decades ago. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for that clarification. This is not just water coming off the road and going into the bay. It's but without the stormwater infrastructure, that is what's happening. So if you want to talk about water quality, whether that's at Sanders Beach, where there's not that infrastructure, whether that's in this area, when you don't have stormwater infrastructure, it is rainwater hitting, stormwater hitting the ground, hitting asphalt and rolling into the bay. And so this is certainly would be an enhancement in that regard. Happy to get you any, the technical aspects, and certainly just don't want to speak out of turn on any of those things. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you so much.